Hello guys, welcome back to the first video on the Stratus Forecast Weather channel in a little bit of a while. I just want to make things clear before we start today's video. I will be making a 2024 recap video. This will be releasing probably in the next couple of weeks because it's going to take probably over several hours of editing. But yeah, I guess you can look forward to that. But in today's video, we're going to be covering the major snowstorm that could be impacting the central part of the United States that moves through the Missouri area and through the Ohio Valley and portions of the Mid-Atlantic, and I guess some portions of southern New England and Northeast. But right now, we're just going to cover the radar and satellite. Then we're going to get into details with that, along with current watches, warnings, and advisories that have been issued by the National Weather Service. We'll also be going over the future icing totals that could be associated with this low pressure system that comes through and forms a snowstorm in the central part of the United States, along with potential snowfall and rainfall to go with it, and potentially even a severe weather potential along with it as well. So yeah, let's get right into this. So currently we're dealing with some snow showers in portions of the New England area. This is in most of northern and interior Maine and portions of eastern Maine. They just got over with a little bit of a rain and snow event. They're still dealing with some lingering snow showers and locally steadier snow. There's some snow showers in the Lake Ontario and Lake Erie area and near the Great Lakes region. This will lead to accumulating with a northwesterly wind and northwesterly flow, this will lead to probably several more feet of heavy snow from the lake effect snow machine once again. Atmospheric river conditions still going on in the Pacific Northwest. We expect this for the next couple of months. And Iowa getting on some snow here. This is why they have a winter weather advisory in effect for portions of Chicago, St. Louis, and portions of Iowa. There's also a winter storm watch in portions of Missouri and up through Iowa for this upcoming snowstorm potential. They have issued it for Saturday and Sunday so far. Rain showers and isolated snow showers happening up in the Pacific Northwest near Seattle, Washington. Rain showers happening. This might be offshore thunderstorms. Potential offshore locally heavy showers going on off the coast of Texas, potentially including areas like, I don't even know how to pronounce these, Corpus Christi. Some of these showers and thunderstorms might be locally heavy offshore at times. Showers happening near Beeville, Texas, and other than that, we're just dealing with the northern half of the country, dealing with widespread cloud cover, along with some sort of some sort of rain or snow wintry precipitation. We also got some lightning strikes happening offshore in the Atlantic Ocean, associated with the system that just came through, impacting the Northeast. But now we're just going to get into the watches, warnings, and advisories. Alright, so here are the current watches, warnings, and advisories. Alright, so here's the current watches, warnings, and advisories. We have a wind advisory up for portions of the mountains of Maine. This goes through portions of pretty much entire Northeast, excluding portions of far western Vermont and northern and western New York. We also have a winter weather advisory in effect for portions of the Great Lakes region. We have a winter storm watch, or that might even be a lake effect snow watch, whatever they call it. We also have a winter storm watch in portions of the Appalachian Mountains, a winter weather advisory in portions of south central Pennsylvania. Winter weather advisories followed by that in portions of south central and southwestern New York. That also includes southern Vermont. A winter storm watch has been in effect for portions of Kansas City as well, and portions of northern Kansas. Winter weather advisories in effect for portions of Colorado and Utah. Winter storm warnings in effect for, I don't even remember what state this is, to be honest with you, but there is winter storm warnings for the Rockies and winter weather advisories for the Rockies as well. Winter storm watches in for Montana, along with winter weather advisories as well. Winter weather advisories in effect for, I think that's Utah there. Winter weather advisories after the Pacific Northwest, including Washington and up in the Rockies. And that's pretty much that. I think this is a deep freeze watch for portions of Georgia and portions of far northern Florida. So now I'm going to get into your actually, also we have some flood warnings up for portions of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and portions of far eastern Texas. And we also have some flood warnings for far western Tennessee. Now we're going to get into your future radar. Alright, so here's your future radar. So we're going to start here. Alright, so we're dealing with a system coming out of the northeast that just produce a good heavy wet snow to portions of foothills and mountains of Maine. This rounded up to around 8 inches or so, I think. If I would take a look at the snowfall amounts, I think that's around correct. Anyways, between 3 and 8 inches. That system is bombing out and now going into portions of far eastern Canada. We also have a high pressure blocking for the southeast that is creating much drier than average conditions, a relatively strong high there, and then we have some relatively warm air trying to build up in the southeast areas. This is not going to last long, as we're going to get a cold shot coming straight out of Canada. This will include a major Arctic blast for much of the central part of the United States. We'll talk about it in a few minutes, but we are focusing on the snowstorm potential in the lower plains and reaching into southern Ohio Valley and potentially even down into portions of Tennessee, Alabama, and portions of Mississippi and Louisiana for a potential severe weather threat. We're actually dealing with snow showers that is extending up to the Rockies and the higher elevations of the western half of the country. Rain showers going on far offshore of Texas, and we saw those showers happening in far southern Texas as well. As we go on through the next couple of days, you're not going to notice much happening. That system over in Canada keeps circling around. That's going to cause tremendous amount of travel impacts, but here comes our system starting to develop. But I really want to focus on also the potential for lake effect snow across the Great Lakes region. This will likely be infecting portions of, I don't really like the term infecting, but impacting the portions of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. This will likely include heavy amounts of snow. This will likely include a few more feet of additional snow from the lake effect snow machine. As you can see, this system is already starting to develop. This is on Sunday. This is why they have a winter storm watch in portions of, what state is that? Yes, Kansas. As we continue on through Sunday, this system really gets a handle. We got cold air from a strong high blocking. This is a very strong high. We got a low pressure system up in the far eastern half of Canada. High pressure dragging cold air down from Canada, coming down to the upper plains. This will provide cold air, but we also have a battle between cold and warm air. As you can see, warm air in the southeast, and then we've got cold air on the northern half of this system. This system is relatively weak at the moment, but it will rapidly strengthen, as you can see here. And the snow could be locally heavy at times. Portions of Kansas, Iowa, the central plains, the upper plains, portions of even into the Ohio Valley, and portions of far east, far western mid-Atlantic. As we continue on, here comes our severe weather threat, but also I want to mention the significant icing potential here. But obviously there's a severe weather threat attached to this system as well. This is a relatively weak system, so I wouldn't expect the severe weather potential to be all that high. Right now, the National Weather Service, the Storm Prediction Center has us at a slight risk of severe weather. We'll have to see if that gets upgraded or not, but I don't think it's going to, because this looks more of a QCOS tornado threat to me, if there was a tornado threat along with this, because this is mostly a line of thunderstorms rather than individual cells. We're also dealing with some significant icing. If we go back a little ways, this icing really looks significant. You can see some of those darker reds in here, not necessarily the purples, but the darker reds. That is indication of heavy freezing rain, and we'll take a look at the icing amounts in just a minute. But with this being said, this could create for serious impact, travel impact issues, because when you have icing, if you have rain coming down to this level and you got cold air, you got warm air in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and then cold air down near the surface, this is going to create for a disgusting mess of slushy sleet, freezing rain, and a mixture of snow even. But freezing rain will be the main concern, I think, with this system, but obviously the snow. Now, typically, heavy snow, especially if it's wet, does lead to isolated power outages. But when you're dealing with a ice storm threat here, your power outage threat is going significantly up. And what that means is you have potential to see, I would say, from right now, if anything, at the very least, isolated power outages, but I would not rule out scattered to widespread power outages. And even if we see over an inch of ice, which it does look possible at this moment, if we take a look at the ice accumulations in just a moment, which we will, you will see that many spots across this area that is being covered in this layer of freezing rain, potentially, could be experiencing over half an inch of ice, which is more than enough to create serious travel impacts and serious amount of power outages within just the matter of hours. So as we continue on, this system looks to, because we have cold suppression, this system is going to be rushed offshore and not impacting the Northeast. So the Northeast could be dealing with a dry spell for several weeks, to be honest with you, because we have a high pressure blocking and it's not really going to allow for anything to come through. And we have cold air that is called cold suppression. We have no storms in the future for the Northeast because the cold suppression is going to be so strong that it will basically hold storms off to our south, which means we will likely stay dry, that is not good for our moderate drought right now, which we are currently in a moderate drought across much of the northeast and New England area. This is not a good sign at all. So to continue on, that system will march off. I kind of agree with some of the people, some of the forecasters. I think there's potential to watch for icing event even in the Appalachian Mountains and portions of Virginia, or I think that's North Carolina, but I'm pretty sure that's Virginia. Either way, we have cold air and warm air like this. I think there's potential that we could see some significant icing. Even a tenth to a quarter of an inch of ice can mean significant travel impacts and potential power outages. I get it. Usually when you're dealing with a half an inch of ice, you're dealing with more of a power outage threat, but even with a quarter of an inch of ice, you're still dealing with some sort of power outage threat here. So it's definitely something to look stay concerned about and stay weather aware and just focus on this very closely. So there could be some heavier snow on the backside because, well, what happens is the high pressure system logo has disappeared, which means this is a relatively weaker high now. But when you have high and low pressure system with these pressure gradients so tight, you're dealing with more energy, which means it's going to produce that heavy snow on the backside. So this system will continue on, and it's going to get out of here, and it's basically going to fall apart because it's cold suppression. That system gets out of here, and then it's just cold suppression. We got a few clipper systems that potentially come through out of Canada and come down basically the same exact area that we're going to be seeing the cold Arctic blast coming through down through the upper plains all the way rushing down into the central part of the United States. And here we go. This system over here down to the south near Texas has been trending more to the north in the last 24 hours, which that makes a little bit more sense because typically we're not used to a snowstorm in portions of southern Texas, southern Louisiana, and southern Alabama. Southern Mississippi, Alabama, and portions of Georgia. So this makes a little bit more sense. The cold air, and you'll see this in a minute, the cold air is now trending a little bit toward the north, which makes a little bit more sense because we're not typically used to seeing cold air as far down south as the southeast states, especially in Texas. But this is still an indication that we could potentially see snow in the Texas area. I'm not saying that we're going to see snow, but the potential is still there. I think since this cold air has been trending more to the north now rather than to the south, we have more potential of just seeing more typical rain events in the southeast because we're not typically used to snow events in the southeast, especially in the north, especially even in the portions of the winter. So this system goes through. Again, this is not, and then here we go. That system comes through, and like I said, this is called cold suppression. And then apparently, the GFS model is indicating more of a pattern that we've seen in the December. So this is not a good news for snow lovers because if we continue this trend again, then it's going to be a flip-flop between rain and snow for most of the country. This shows a rapid warm-up up in the west and rapid cool-down in the east. This is pretty typical for the month of December, especially last December, what we saw. But that cold air has a hard time fighting back, as you can see. But obviously, I think the cold air is going to win this battle overall. But there's that. Now we're going to take a look at the European model. The European model, I'm thinking it's going to trend more to the south, but we'll see what happens here. So there's that system in the northeast, more snow in the Rockies. High pressure and low pressure directly together. That's really rare but this is also the European model. All right, so the winter storm is what we're focusing on, right? So sometime Saturday around, we'll see the system develop in the upper plains near the Pacific Northwest and the western half of the country. We'll see this continue on, and then it really ramps up. We get a pressure system of 999 millibars, which this indicates of a strengthening system, and the only reason it's strengthening is because the high pressure and low pressure systems are so close together, which is going to cause a tight pressure gradient and is going to increase that energy level. And as we go, this will probably create the European model is a little bit more lighter on the icing event, but I think the icing event still could be pretty significant. So, and then severe weather threat looks a little bit more decreased to me on the European model. It doesn't look as bad, especially with the GFS model indicating a strong line of thunderstorms. This is indicating more of a scattered, which is actually in more favor of tornadoes, unfortunately. This is more in favor of tornadoes on the European model. The GFS model is more in favor of not really a derecho situation, but more of a wind threat, a thunderstorm wind threat, damaging wind threat is what you call it, really. Then that system goes through. Maybe a squall line starting to develop. This could indicate more of a severe weather threat, especially for a damaging wind threat, with maybe a few embedded tornadoes, but obviously this is still several days out, so this could definitely change. And the one thing about the European model and the GFS model is I think their timing is a little bit off here. I'm not sure. I think their timing is both separated by a few hours. I'm not sure. That system continues going through. Right around the, let me go back just a tad. Around the Monday time frame, we get this heavier impacted area of freezing rain. We're also going to have to watch the Appalachian Mountains in parts of Virginia for this icing event. And then that snow heads offshore, and then this high pressure system basically allows for cold suppression to once again enter the state. So I think the only potential for people to see winter storms is going to be anywhere below the northern half of the country, because I think the cold suppression is creating these systems with the jet stream tucked so tight. You can basically tell what the jet stream is, right? The jet stream is right where this warm and cold air meet. These blue and red lines meet. That's exactly where the jet stream is. It's basically a cold suppression is what we call it. Continuing on, and then let's see what the GFS model, the European model, does with this, if it creates a winter storm in Texas. So I think I just saw a little bit of something there, but it doesn't really come together. As you can see, there's a little bit of something starting to form here. Even snow in portions of northern Texas is still rare, okay? Let's see what happens. Let's see what the European model does. So cold suppression continuing on. This warm air tries to build up a little bit potentially later half of next week and potentially the following week behind that. Weak low pressure system coming through, relatively strong high pressure happening down, well, I wouldn't say that's strong, but there's a high pressure system blocking a pattern for Florida, which was indicating more drier pattern for Florida. Low pressure system up in the Canada area. This could bring some snow to the northeast, I would imagine, maybe some isolated snow showers. Here we go. This is okay. So actually, the way this is setting up, this is more of a favor for snowstorms to the northeast, because it's allowing for that jet stream to fluctuate. But when you got that cold suppression, you got that jet stream so tight to the south, it's not going to allow for anything to come up the eastern seaboard. But when you have more of a more fluctuating jet stream like this, it's more of a potential to see snowstorms. But obviously, you have to have that cold, and what we've been seeing for most of December the month of December during the year 2024 is we saw warm and cold patterns. That's not what you want to see for snowstorms. You want to see at least some sort of cold. Even 32 degrees is cold enough. But obviously you want that mixed line to stay offshore to stay all snow. So this shows much of the same story, but obviously this would be the same system that the GFS model is indicating. Obviously a little bit farther, the low pressure system itself is actually associated a little bit farther south, which means the snow line would actually be down here. But I think what's happening is a weird, we don't typically see that. I think the warm front is like this, and the what is it called? Yeah, the cold front is like this. So okay, that shows more of a potentially a snow on the front side of it, on the top half of it, and then a little tiny potential severe weather threat in portions of far eastern Texas and portions of most of the state of Louisiana getting on some severe weather, and potentially even Mississippi getting on some severe alerts too. Here we go. This is what you want to see for snowstorms. So if we can get, I've seen this on AccuWeather. I think I'm starting to understand it. So if we can get a low pressure system to come ahead of the initial trough, this will promote a snowstorm for the Northeast, and you'll see this exactly. See right there. Now obviously the cold suppression is a little bit too tough on this, so the low pressure system is going in the general direction that you would want to see a snowstorm, but it's not quite there yet because the cold suppression is so strong. But this is what you want to see. And then that snowstorm just barely misses the Northeast. This is what you want to see for snowstorms. Now obviously you want that storm to be lifted by something, a trough, another low pressure system, a jet stream to fluctuate a little bit more. So there goes that. Now, the most significant part of this whole thing is the icing threat. So we're going to get right into that right now. Alright, so here's the icing. So we can see some icing in the Pacific Northwest, but that's not what we're focusing on. We are focusing on somewhere in the central United States. So here comes that system. I'm going to actually zoom in. The way will go all the way through when this thing ends. So here we go. This is what the GFS model is indicating for icing. So it's indicating some spots over an inch of ice, which this would definitely promote numerous power outages. This is like a numerous power outage, several power outages out of the system, probably 250,000, if anything. I think that's a little bit too much, but you get the point. It's going to be a lot of power outages. Some pockets of 1 inch, but mostly a widespread area of about 1/4 of an inch to around 1/2 an inch to near 3/4 of an inch to about 1 inch of ice. So that's a significant amount of icing. As we take a look at the European model with this, we'll see what it does. So according to the GFS, the European model doesn't do the icing, so that's so the freezing rain. So there's that. So there's your freezing rain potential. This is a lot of icing, honestly, but it's a lot of icing. Now we want to take a look at the snowfall, because obviously we're dealing with a lot of snowfall on the top half of the low pressure system. This is going to be the more accurate reading of the snowfall for the GFS model. This will give us a more accurate reading of what snowfall actually accumulates when the temperature, because sometimes snowfall doesn't accumulate when the temperature is around 32 degrees, because even if the ground is frozen, 32 degrees is not really good enough, because it's going to be more of a wet, fluffy, wet snow. It's not really going to accumulate that well, because some of it's going to melt away. Some of it will anyway. So here's a good look of what you could see for snowfall. So this is going through Monday. Portions of, it's really a streak through about the southern plains all the way down to the mid-Atlantic, and portions of clipping a little bit of the far southwestern half of the Northeast in Great Lakes region. Some pockets picking up between 1 and 3 feet of snow, but a widespread area of about 5 to 10 inches, 5 to 20 inches of snow, which is a lot of snow. If we take a look at the European model, here's the European model with it again, that streak of the southern plains all the way down to the mid-Atlantic and clipping portions of southern New England and southern Northeast. A good 5 to 10 inches, I'd say 5 to around 15 inches of snow for a good portion of this. So this is definitely promoting a hazardous Sunday through Wednesday. If we take a look at the temperatures, because if these temperatures stay around the 32 degree mark for much of Sunday, which they're going to, actually they don't actually, so this would be more of a heavy snow threat, not much of a wet snow threat. The snow would be likely fluffy, but it will be very heavy. So I also want to take a look at the Arctic blast that we could be dealing with. Alright, here we go. So we go through, and then we get some shots of Arctic blasts coming through this Friday. Actually, our first shot of Arctic blast comes through Canada and goes right down to where it's been going this entire season, right down towards the southeast states for some odd reason. I don't know why it does it. So we get a little shot of cold air there that gets into the mid-Atlantic, southeast states, and even clipping a little bit of the northeast. Next system comes through that promotes a little bit more of a it promotes more of a colder than average temperatures. We get another shot that comes through. That one moves down more toward the southeast area. Then we get another shot that comes through. This one looks a little bit more impactful, that covers a little bit more area. This will include portions of the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast New England, Southeast states as far west as Texas, portions of the Upper Plains, and Midwest. There's that third blast. Then we get another blast that comes through, and then that will likely impact, not likely, but it could impact portions of the Southeast states, leading to a well below average temperatures. Some of these whites indicating well below average temperatures for parts of the Southeast, which is relatively rare. Things become a little bit more uncertain, but this looks a little bit more typical for the last couple of years, a little bit more average. Another shots. As we take a look at the GFS model, what it does with this, let's see what it does with this. First Arctic blast comes through, that one looks a little bit more impactful in the GFS model, impacting the Mid-Atlantic, comes through these northern plains, slides down through the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Second one comes through, same area really, and then this one actually has a little bit farther to the west, including areas of western Texas, portions of the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, Great Lakes region, just skinning parts of the Southeast. And then we get another blast of colder. This one looks a little bit more significant, that covers much of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, southeast states, and potentially even closer to the western half of the Northeast. And then another shot of Arctic air comes through. This one looks a little bit more on the weaker side. That could impact portions of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and then things become way more uncertain. So if we take a look at the actual temperatures, what they could look like. So we go for the first Arctic blast. Here comes the first Arctic blast, so it doesn't look as significant. You can see that cold air building. This is not a good sign. This looks like a very frigid. We're going to be going right into the. Here goes. This looks a little bit more usual. This is kind of what I was expecting here. More usual. Cold air filtering into the Northeast. Here comes the second Arctic blast that really rushes down. And then boom, bam, there it goes. There goes another one. Oh. So there's your temperatures. If we go with the, I want to take a look at the temperatures real quick. So the first Arctic blast, this will drag temperatures. In the upper plains, you're dealing with below zero temperatures, anywhere from 5 to 30 below zero. Teens and 20s in the northern half of the country, even digging down to the southeast. There's your first Arctic blast. Second one comes through. It doesn't look as significant as it did a few days ago, but that freezing line does reach all the way down into far southern Alabama, Georgia, and even far northern Texas. That freezing line does anyways. Northeast will see some pretty frigid temperatures in the single digits, and then below zero temperatures in the mountains. Here we go. Second Arctic blast comes through. This will cover a little bit more of the country. That freezing line reaches all the way down into southern Florida. Yeah, I don't buy it. And then another Arctic blast comes through, and then things become a little bit more uncertain, but it looks a little bit more average to me. The GFS model, we'll see what the GFS model does with this. So first Arctic blast comes through. This one doesn't look impactful in the GFS model, but we can still see that freezing line extending all the way down to portions of northern Texas. And then the secondary Arctic blast comes through. This one could be a little bit more impactful, extending its length down into portions of Alabama and Mississippi, and even northern Louisiana. As we continue on, we get another shot of Arctic blast. This one looks a little bit more impactful for the Central Plains and Midwest and portions of the Ohio Valley and Northeast. And then we get another shot of Arctic air. This one looks a little bit more impactful for the northern half of the country. We'll see what else I need to go through. The severer the threat. So the Storm Prediction Center for the day of... So there's Storm Prediction Center for day 4 as a slight risk of severe weather for portions of central and northern Louisiana, for much of the state of Mississippi, southwestern Arkansas, and western Western Texas. Obviously, there's no hazardous risk right now because this is still a few days out. But there's your slight risk of severe weather potential. Now we want to take a look. Obviously, we can't look at much, but we can also take a look at the wind shear, just to see if we, and the dew points to see if we have that. The ingredients, So we'll go to the southeast here. Here we go. So we're going to go to severe weather. We're going to go to severe weather. We're going to take a look at that shear first, since we can't go. So we're going to go through. So right here, it doesn't look great for tornadoes, but here's that system that comes through. This could actually promote severe weather. Actually, when you get a jet stream like this, that is a pretty intense jet streak right there. We want to take a look at the energy available, the energy elicit. There it is right there, Sunday. It looks impactful on the GFS model, but the GFS model does tend to uptick things more than it is. But it looks like northern Louisiana could get in a little bit of a severe weather threat. We want to take a look at supercell composite. Here it goes. Yeah, we get that little boost there, that little blue in there, right there in northern Louisiana. Looks like a little bit of a severe weather threat. Most unstable Cape. Here it is right there. It gets a little bit in there. It's not the greatest. Let's see what else we can take a look at. We'll take a look at the European model, what it does with this. So we'll go through Sunday. So here it is. This is what you'd like to see for severe weather. That looks like a pretty strong. This would probably promote more of a lower level jet stream, which is good for severe weather. But this is a long streak of around 70 to near 100 knots, and that is very good for severe weather. So the severe weather potential is there. I think tornadoes, but also let's take a look at the humidity. Also, the temperatures are relatively important as well. So as we go through Sunday, temperatures are obviously always going to be there. So 60, 55 plus is good for severe weather. Dew points. The dew points should be relatively on the higher side of things. Yup. 60 to 70 dew points is very good for severe weather. Let's take a look at the GFS model. So for what I want to look at. Oh yeah, the humidity is important as well. Let's go back to the European model. Let's take a look at that relative humidity. Sunday, we want to go to Sunday. Look at that. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay. We want to take a look at the GFS model we'll start out with relative humidity. The GFS model is going to make it a little bit more extreme than it actually is. Here we go. Sunday, yeah, it's there. It looks good. We get humidity near 90 to 100, which is perfect for severe weather. Dew points, let me see here. 60s, mid-60s looks pretty good. What else did I want to look at? I wanted to give you guys your rainfall amounts, because this could promote some heavy rainfall as well. So, heavy rainfall amounts, let's take a look at the total amount of precipitation for the GFS model through Wednesday. Okay, it still keeps going. So, there's your streak. So, anywhere in that line of thunderstorms, around a quarter of an inch to near around an inch of rain. Obviously, in that severe weather zone, there isn't much rain, which usually there would be because thunderstorms would promote heavier rainfall. I think the severe weather threat could actually get extended a little bit, could move over to the east a little bit, because the line of thunderstorms doesn't really look to get going until farther to the east, where it really gets intense and really starts to increase and really show itself, and really intensify. Here's the European model. The European model is a little bit more on the aggressive side with it. A widespread area of about a quarter of an inch to around an inch of rain. That is a little bit more typical. And where you're seeing that rainfall right now is where I think that thunderstorm line is actually going to be. So there it is. Alright, so if you stay if you are in the areas that are going to be covered by the icing event and the potential snowstorm coming up this weekend, make sure to have everything prepared, like flashlights, food, generators. It will likely be an impactful weekend. We're looking at a solid potential of some very significant freezing rain coming on, which will probably lead to widespread power outages at the very least. Along with a severe weather threat. So yeah, there you go. So if you guys did enjoy, and if you guys would like to see more weather content like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to never miss an upload. And without further ado, as always, stay safe out there, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.